After losing both of his parents at a young age, Gary set out on a lifelong quest to find Tomorrowland. He expected the journey to be brief, yet years went by without any sign of where he was meant to go. Then one evening, he crosses paths with another girl named Amy. Thrilled to finally meet someone her own age, she immediately falls for him. She brings Gary back to meet her family, the Croods. Everyone takes a liking to him except her protective father, Grug. As their journey continues, Amy's affection for him only grows deeper. While traveling through a canyon, they are suddenly ambushed by a pack of wild punch monkeys and kangaroo-like beasts. Fortunately, the Croods are natural fighters and easily hold their own. Amy has found a partner she wants to build a future with. The young couple longs for some romantic alone time, yet true privacy is impossible with the family around. Eventually, the group arrives in a desert landscape. Grug suggests they set up camp and take a rest. He assigns chores to everyone in the group. All of them get right to work except Gary and Amy. Lost in their own romantic world, the pair completely ignore their duties, pushing Grug's patience to the limit. He simply cannot bear the thought of his daughter drifting away from him. Later that night, after the others have fallen asleep, Gary confesses his feelings to Amy and presents her with a special tracking stone. He asks if she would like to find a place of their own and start a new life together. Amy happily agrees, and the two begin planning their future. Unbeknownst to them, Grug overhears the entire conversation, struggling to accept that his little girl has grown up. The family is woken from their sleep by a strange sound. Believing a predator is near, the pack prepares to strike, only to realize the noise is coming from Grug. He had wandered off early and stumbled upon an incredible sight. Deep inside the lush area stands a massive wooden wall. Beyond this barrier lies a breathtaking paradise overflowing with fresh crops and endless food. Having gone hungry for so long, the Croods lose all restraint upon seeing the feast. They gorge themselves until they can barely move. Grug then spots a banana, a rare treat he hasn't tasted in ages. As they rush toward it, they trigger a net trap that captures the entire family. Shortly after, a couple steps forward and introduces themselves as the Bettermans. It turns out this lush sanctuary was built and cultivated entirely by them. To everyone's shock, they recognize Gary right away, having known him and his parents when he was just a child. Phil and Hope are overjoyed to be reunited with Gary after all these years. They warmly invite the whole group into their home. Over the years, the Bettermans have developed an advanced, comfortable lifestyle. Their dwelling is packed with modern comforts that appear utterly magical to the primitive cave family. The couple also has a daughter named Dawn, Gary's childhood friend. While one might expect Amy to feel jealous, she is instead thrilled simply to meet another girl her age. When evening falls, Phil gives everyone their own separate living quarters. For the very first time, the Croods experience personal space and privacy. Grug, however, dislikes the arrangement completely. He believes a family should always sleep in a single pile and share everything together, just as they always have. His wife, Ugga, urges him to keep an open mind so they can stay close to Amy. The Bettermans had always worried about Dawn growing up isolated without a companion, but Gary's arrival seems like the perfect solution for her future. Hope, however, is wary of Gary's bond with Amy. At sunrise, the Bettermans wake Gary early and encourage him to spend the day with Dawn. Gary is completely mesmerized by the inventions and ease of this new world. The rest of the Croods are equally captivated by the modern conveniences. Frustrated by how easily their family is being swayed, Grug and Amy set out to find Gary. When they do, they are stunned by the change in him. Gary has fully adopted the refined look and manners of the Bettermans. He encourages Amy to adapt as well, but she refuses to abandon who she truly is. Hurt and uncertain about their relationship, Amy walks away to be on her own. Dawn follows after her, eager to learn more about her life. She is thoroughly amazed by Amy's adventurous spirit and physical scars. Because her overprotective parents have never allowed her past the compound walls, Dawn feels just as confined as Amy once felt in her cave. Moved by her story, Amy decides to show Dawn what real freedom feels like. Climbing on their tiger, they leap over the perimeter wall. For the first time, Dawn experiences the thrill of the wild open world. She has the time of her life until they accidentally crash into a swarm of stinging insects, leaving Dawn's hand swollen. Dawn is overjoyed to have earned her very first battle scar. Back at the compound, the Bettermans work on getting the Croods to move on. Hope drops not-so-subtle hints to Ugga that they should depart, while Phil invites Grug into a private sauna to negotiate. Phil tries to subtly steer Grug toward leaving Gary behind in exchange for keeping his daughter with him. Desperate to stay by Amy's side, Grug agrees to the arrangement. However, once they reunite, Ugga quickly knocks sense back into him, reminding him that Gary is part of their pack and they cannot abandon him. By nightfall, Amy and Dawn return from their excursion. Gary spots them and, seeing Dawn's swollen hand, loses his temper, blaming Amy and calling her a reckless cave girl. Amy never imagined Gary would look down on her background with such disdain. At dinner, tension fills the entire room. Phil seizes the awkward moment to reveal the private deal he made with Grug. Chaos erupts instantly as arguments break out across the table. Grug roars to silence the bickering. He announces that the Croods are leaving immediately and asks Gary whether he is coming along. Drawn to the comfort of the oasis, Gary declines to leave. Heartbroken and disillusioned, Amy walks away, lamenting that she gave her heart to the wrong person. Before storming off, Grug blurts out that he had eaten the entire supply of forbidden bananas. Terror strikes Phil, who dashes frantically toward the outer wall. He reveals that the bananas were a tribute to appease a giant beast dwelling beyond the perimeter. Though Phil has never seen the creature up close, offering fruit was the only thing keeping it from attacking. With no bananas left, their protection is gone. Suddenly, an entire army of aggressive monkeys swarms the compound. The monkeys swiftly overpower Grug, Phil, and Gary, dragging them off into the wild. The remaining women decide to track the trail and rescue their men. Hope is initially hesitant, but seeing her daughter's determination to save Phil, she agrees to join the rescue mission. The rescue group soon reaches a perilous stone bridge crawling with land-dwelling predators. Unwilling to risk her safety, Hope tries to force a detour, but Ugga insists they push forward. The sudden scuffle causes their mount to lose balance, sending everyone tumbling into the rushing water below. After scrambling ashore, they find themselves completely lost. Grandma steps forward to take command, assuring the group she has a way forward. She pulls off her furry headpiece, revealing a live creature that she dispatches to scout the terrain. Convinced the strategy is ridiculous, Hope loses her composure entirely. In a burst of frustration, she insults the Croods for their wild, unrefined ways. Panicking, she bolts blindly into a cavern and becomes trapped in giant web strands. A massive spider closes in on her, but Amy leaps into action to defend her. The Croods prepare to attack the creature, yet Dawn intervenes, pointing out that the spider is merely protecting its young. Dawn notes that Hope is acting out of the same maternal instinct, even if her methods have been misguided. Meanwhile, the primates bring their 3 captives to a mountain sanctuary. The stronghold is home to a vast colony of monkeys with remarkable combat skills. The scouts report their findings to the colony's chieftain. Fortunately, Gary recognizes their dialect and steps forward to translate. It turns out the monkeys once thrived in a fertile valley filled with fruit, sharing their surplus with a giant beast to maintain peace. Their paradise dried up when their water source was suddenly diverted, forcing them to rely on the Bettermans for food. Hearing this, Phil proudly begins explaining his irrigation engineering, only to inadvertently confess that his system was what stole the monkeys' water supply in the first place. Enraged by the truth, the monkeys lock them in a hanging cage, where they await their grim fate. Their spirits lift slightly when Grandma's tracking pet secretly locates them and rushes back to guide the rescue party. At the camp, Amy struggles with her lingering heartache, venting her frustration on nearby rocks and trees. Ugga steps in to comfort her, but Amy insists she no longer cares about Gary. Ugga gently smiles and reminds her that pain is simply proof of how deeply she cares and that true love is worth fighting for. Those words reignite Amy's resolve, giving her the courage to fight for the boy she loves. With Grandma's scout leading the way, the women prepare for battle. Inside the monkey arena, Gary and his companions are brought forward to be offered to the giant beast. Instead of devising a way out, Grug and Phil turn on one another in a heated argument. The two fathers trade harsh insults. This makes Gary realize just how deeply his own careless words had hurt Amy. Unfortunately, time has run out as the three men are wrapped like giant bananas to be offered to the beast. Facing what seems like the end, Grug and Phil put aside their differences and make peace with one another. Gary also reflects remorsefully on how poorly he treated the girl he loves. The arena floor trembles as a colossal monkey emerges, ready to eat them. Before it can feast, the females make their dramatic entrance. The monkey guards attempt to hold them off, but the women charge forward without hesitation. Each member fights with fierce determination to rescue their family. The giant monster scoops the three men into its mouth, but Grandma acts swiftly, launching her pet right up the beast's nose to trigger a massive sneeze that ejects the men. The creature remains on the attack, prompting Amy to lure it toward a narrow ledge. Gary rushes back into the fight to assist Amy. Cornered, Gary and Amy scramble atop a hanging skull suspended by vines. With the ropes straining to support their weight, Gary confesses that his lifelong search for Tomorrowland was never about reaching a location, but about finding a person, and that person is her. The giant monster lunges forward to break up the moment, but the combined Crood and Betterman families arrive to support them, hurling stuff to push the beast back. Gary comes up with a final plan. Striking a stone against his fire necklace, he ignites a blaze that burns through the supporting ropes, sending the colossal beast plunging into the abyss below. With the danger past, the Bettermans welcome everyone to live within their sanctuary, this time taking down all the walls to share the land openly. The monkey colony is provided with a fresh home and an endless supply of fruit. The movie ends with Gary and Amy officially starting their future together as partners.
Please like and subscribe.